And also for thanks and praises be to unto our God for his mercies and love to us. And then because I really want to talk to African leaders. The leaders of Africa. For how long will you put the people that you rule under siege? And consider baying. And any pa would do on so no. It's about high time the African youth rise and tell the leaders that enough is enough and there must be a cut-off point. Honestly, African leaders, you are very wicked. Most of you are very wicked. And at least you need to rise up, rethink, redecide, and redo your actions to save the mother continent, because we have everything that must make us prosper. But our young men are dying on the Red Sea. They are dying in the seas. They are dying on the deserts. Mama no kwa video bimra. Na me Musa say, are we okay? Does the leaders of this continent think about the people that they rule? And pa say, yakeni for no dwini pa, omo du omo so no so. Omo dwini omo pa. Then what's the problem? My encombra sesia. Na enko video numra. Ya ba me no bedinkom.
Speak about today. And that is for the world to respect Africa. Now, the first thing that I want to underline is that it must be earned. Let me now turn to the theme that I've been asked to speak about today. And that is for the world to respect Africa. Now, the first thing that I want to underline is that respect is never a given. It cannot be purchased. It must be earned. And it is earned based not on rhetoric or request, but based on action. Concrete action. Consistent action over time. Saudi Arabia has oil, as does Nigeria. Kuwait has oil, as does Nigeria. Qatar has abundant gas, as does Nigeria and other countries. Yet Nigeria is the country with the largest share of its population living below extreme poverty line in 2023 in Africa. That is not a gold medal that we should be proud about. Clearly, there is something fundamentally wrong in our management, or rather mismanagement of our natural resources. It is also clear that if we continue to mismanage these natural resources, we will remain stuck. I have urged African governments to stop securing loans backed by their natural resources. And that's because those natural resource-backed loans are not transparent. They're expensive. They make debt resolution very, very difficult. If that trend continues, it will be a disaster for Africa. If we manage our natural resources well, Africa has no reason to be poor. We have $6.2 trillion of natural resources. So how in the world are we poor? We simply need to pull up our socks, stamp our corruption, and manage our natural resources in the interest of our countries and in the interest of our people. And let me say, the resources of a country does not belong in the pockets of powerful and rich individuals. It belongs for the state to be used for the benefit of the people of that country. There must be accountability on our natural resources. I wonder sometimes when people go around and say, well, I've actually helped, we put a borehole in a state, or pull a borehole and it's on national television. The very fact that you're actually installing boreholes is an indication of government failure. Because in 21st century, every single house must be having pipe-borne water. So there's nothing to be really delightful about in trying to do that. And we should get away from this feeling of leaders feeling that they are doing public good. No. Leaders must be held accountable for the resources of the people. Let me now turn to the theme that I've been asked to speak about today.
For this one, I said everything. And I'm so sad that I was born in Africa. Sometimes it's painful. When you sit around and think about the resource that God has given to the people of Africa and how we are now and where we find ourselves now in economic times, you can't think again. The number one producer of gold in Africa now begging for money everywhere the government goes. The number one producer of oil in Africa, the people are living under the normal living line, the standard, Nigeria. Name the African countries, Sierra Leone, DR Congo, wherever. Every country in Africa has the resources. But African leaders always travel outside to beg for arms. Who is managing the economy? Who is managing the resources? How are you managing them? It is because nobody is asking them for accountability. The youth of Africa, I want to talk to you this morning. Rise up. Demand accountability. Ask the leaders. Call them. Demonstrate into the street. Tell them to account for whatever has been given to them to manage on your behalf. Because I personally believe this time must be the cutoff point. This time we have to tell them enough is enough. Why are we living below the poverty line whilst we have everything on ourselves? Are they? A DNSC. Deputy Minister in charge of Trade and Industry say, Ghana said in the article for uno. Money. These same people were campaigning on platform. Said John Dramani Mama ran the economy down because you know now 4.2. These are leaders who are leading us now. These are people who want to continue to lead us. How are you going to improve your economical standard under this leadership? Every day, one they will lie to you today. They will come tomorrow and tell you they were joking. This is why you have reduced democracy into. Don't let anybody convince you that democracy is not good for Africa. It is better for Africa. But because our politicians went to Europe, they went to America, they understood what they are doing, and when they were coming, they trick it and change it. And they are now practicing monocracy instead of democracy. So rather, monocracy is not good for Africa. Rather, they should go back and learn well. Learn very well how to practice democracy. They should go back and learn. Aren't you ashamed of yourselves? Money so on. Mon fere de. Se broni and ate Ghana so your president na kwa resign. I'm telling you. Se seka broni and kwa resign asem we okan enti. But on some ben se aso se nto amare won sama MP. Wei. He went to a repair firm. He said the revolution of minds is coming and it is here now. So you want to come back and trick our minds? How possible? Mr. Minister. We don't hate you. We don't have any hatred in our hearts. but we hate what you're doing and looking through to our eyes and lie to us. Thinking that we are all stupid. We don't have a brain to think. African leader. This same Ghana, these same people came to us that they were trading gold for oil. They will come and pick the abundant gold that we have, send it to Dubai and get a refined oil. Meanwhile, we have oil in this country, we have a refinery at Tema, which is currently not have any fault, but it's not working. That refinery is your oil nebi wo krom ha. And so as say gold na abusu eni bibia de no. E ko Dubai say, "Mon fa kudu ya mari fan wi mfaman, ne koye petrol diesel. Mo amari fan, mon fan kogu eka mu, ne ma mo gold." These people will leave that place and go to IMF and beg for money. What kind of thinking, what kind of people, what kind of idea, what kind of brain that you have in your mind? Something fundamentally, seriously wrong with African leaders. And we must look straight into the eyes and tell them that what you're doing is wickedness. Capital wickedness. You are treacherous. You don't think. You are very wicked. You have oil, you have lithium, you have gold, you have diamond, you have whatever. Cocoa forest, timber, everything. You have sea, you have rivers. This is where we find ourselves under this cruel leadership. It's not peculiar to Ghana. I'm talking about African leaders who don't think about the people who voted them into power. Who are on paper practicing democracy, but on the ground practicing monocracy. More strong cartels say more democracy, but a form no sikadia ni sikapa abone atimode ni adwempone na asem trima. Are the people that I'm talking to this morning? We have precedents. We have examples. We have leaders that have been able to build their country in Africa. How could we say what long year? What did you Utrimo, say, sit school and prepare Jimmy, what Jimmy, and what Jimmy. This argument, but in 50 years, Ghana will continue to sink. Togo will continue to sink. Nigeria will continue to sink because you don't think about people who voted you guys into power. Why and how? Do you think, sir, and do you still believe that a young man who is traveling barefoot on the desert wants us that way? People who are boarding wretched ships to travel over the seas from Libya to Italy. Do they want them in that way? One way no so obia frubia kowu. Na nkofra kowu but o transi obewu akọ obewu ento obekọ akowu. And he will turn back to them and tell them, you have them in mind, you have them in your heart. They should vote for you in power. They will give you their thumb, they will give you their life, their destiny. They will give it into your hands for 4 years. And you trick them and come back and deceive them once again. Let us rise up and tell them to their face that they are wicked people. They should sit back, go back to the drawing board and think once again and come back to you. It's not about money that I will give to you. Continue to face the hunger. If it will kill you, so be it. Mama yan kana kuranchire mpanimfo. Na yan kanya sasam che banyansafo se, esese banyansafo te banyansafo se, no ti de woka de ye adwuma. Let us rise up and defend Africa. Thank you so much. Good morning.